coming up next on the Ugo Lord Show. Beaten, broken, and betrayed.
I was gonna die, and it was gonna happen soon.
For our next guest, a life of abuse led to a life of addiction, and that addiction cost her everything.
What is it like to be that low, where you literally do not care whether you live or die?
Stuck in the darkest place imaginable, does she have the courage it takes to regain control of her life?
I don't want to die.
Find out right here on the Ugo Lord Show.
From the Las Vegas Strip to the Big Apple and even to Africa, I've traveled around the world to find brave young adults who have faced unimaginable challenges in their lives. If they can face their demons, you can too. Remember, it is never too late to take control of your life and create your best possible future. Join me and let's take this journey together. This is the Ugo Lord Show. Addiction, in an instant, can lead from the impossible to the unimaginable. Coming up on the Ugo Lord Show, our next guest tells us what led her to rock bottom and the greatest fight for her life.
My name is Corinna and I'm 19 years old.
Born and raised in the city lights of Las Vegas, Nevada, Corinna is no stranger to high stakes. But she wasn't gambling with money. Instead, she was gambling with her life.
It all started when I was 13. That's when the drugs really started. I started drinking heavily, smoking pot. I was addicted to speedballing, which is mixing heroin and cocaine, and I was an IV drug user, so I used to inject it. I didn't really have anyone watching me. My mom was raising me by myself, so she was going to school and she was working, and I was constantly by myself. I hung out with my friends all the time. That's all I did, and I stopped going to school. And drugs just became my way of coping with things that have happened to me in the past.
In addition to the changes that all teenagers face, Corinna was confronted with what proved to be more than just a mere change, but rather a challenge.
My parents divorced when I was really young, so that was a really hard thing for me to deal with. Not the divorce itself, but things the divorce caused. It caused a lot of fighting in between them, a lot of me being put in the middle of my parents, and they used me and my brother a lot to get back at each other. And it was just a really difficult thing for me to deal with, being put in the middle and felt like I had to choose sides, and I don't want to choose in between my parents. I love my parents.
As Corinna grew up, she found herself being used as a weapon by and against the very people she loves most, her parents. As she was supervised less and less, she found herself surrounded by the wrong group of friends more and more, feeding into her addiction. But it wasn't just the turmoil in her life at the time that caused her to spiral out of control. Behind her beautiful exterior is a young woman with a dark past. By the time her addiction was in full swing, Corinna was holding on to an 8-year secret that she was the victim of child molestation.
The sexual abuse that happened few different times. So its first time was when I was really young. I was probably 5 years old. The second time was a boyfriend of my mom's, and I was probably 7 years old. And for a long time I kept it a secret, both times I kept it a secret, and when I finally did tell my mom, she didn't believe me. Her not believing me, it really hurt. It hurt tremendously. Just the fact that I did keep it in for so long, and finally, she kind of forced it out of me. I mean, it was obvious you could tell something had happened to me in the past. I showed signs kind of that I've had some abuse in the past. And it really, really got to me. And I don't know if it was the fact that she didn't believe me or she didn't want to believe it. At first, telling her made me feel very regretful because she didn't believe me. It made me feel like I shouldn't have told her. I should have just kept it a secret. And to this day, I feel like I still shouldn't have told her. I mean, now she does believe me. The first person who did sexually abuse me, she still has a problem believing because it's someone who's close to her. So I feel like I shouldn't have said anything.
Corinna was 13 years old when she bravely confessed to her mother of the sexual abuse she suffered through when she was a little girl. Her bravery was quickly replaced by pain, betrayal, and rejection when her mother refused to believe her. As the emptiness inside her built, Corinna looked for ways to escape and soon found herself lost in a pool of heavy drugs and deep isolation. I had the opportunity to sit down with her and discover if she was ever able to regain control of her life. Thank you, first of all, for being here. I've got to say, just watching your story, watching that honest confession that you just made is so extremely moving to me, and I'm honored to have you here. I just wanted to ask you, when you were young, the abuse that you went through, how did that happen?
I don't know how it happened. I really don't. I don't know why it happened. That's the biggest thing I ask myself is why it happened, and I don't know.
How old were you at the time?
The first time I was very young. I was 5, and the second time I was around 7 or 8 years old.
Did you know your abuser the first time?
Yes.
Did you know your abuser the second time?
Yes.
Was it the same person or were they different people?
No, they were different people.
You're a 5-year-old innocent little girl and you just had your world shattered. Did you know what was going on at that age?
I think it actually took me a while to fully understand what just happened to me. Because as I got older, it affected me worse and worse as I look back on it. At the time, I don't think I fully could understand what this just did to me and how it was going to affect me in the future.
Who was your first abuser? Did you trust this individual?
Yes, I did. It was someone very, very close.
Have you ever seen the person since the abuse?
Yes.
Have you ever confronted this individual?
No.
How
Never.
long has it been since you've seen the person?
Well, me and this person, we do not speak. We're not on good terms. I obviously try my best to stay away. I haven't seen this person in probably 3 years. At the time, this person was around all the time, so there's no way I could get away from him. But when I had the chance to be able to get away, I did.
You trusted this individual,
Mm-hmm.
and then they shattered that trust.
Yes.
Was it a one-time thing or was it a systematic thing?
It would be systematic, yes.
And then you were abused by a second individual at the age of 7?
Yes.
Was this also by someone that you trusted?
I wouldn't say trusted. It was a boyfriend of my mom's. He lived at her house, so I wouldn't say I trusted this person, but I trusted my mom. So for her to have someone come into her house and do this to me, it was kind of more of a broken trust between me and her rather than me and the boyfriend.
Have you ever blamed your mother for what happened to you?
I have. I've blamed her a lot, and I know I've made her believe it's her fault, but it was never her fault. And I feel horrible for ever making her feel like it was her fault. Because I know that, as a mother, you do your best to protect your child, and she would never intentionally bring someone in that's gonna hurt me. I know I'm her number one, her world, and I know she would never have done that on purpose.
5 years old, 7 years old, systematic abuse, that must have had an impact on you. How did you move forward at that young age? Did you move forward?
I don't think I did, because I dwelled on it. I still sometimes dwell on it. It stays with me. It affected me growing up a lot. And it made me feel about myself, look at myself different than other people, I'm sure, look at themselves. I always had this feeling of disgust towards myself, and I know it made me have less self-esteem, less self-respect, and I allowed men in my my future to treat me in a way that was not right.
Let's talk about your future for a little bit. As you grew up, you fell into some addiction and substance abuse problems. How did that happen? Was it just stemming from the pain that you experienced as a child?
Definitely. It definitely did. It was my way of escaping. Drugs was the only thing I knew to turn to, drugs and alcohol. And when I was growing up, my father moved away, so I was living with my mom, and she worked and went to school and had her life also. So I spent a lot of time by myself. And friends were people I had surrounding me. Sometimes friends are not always the best influence. I partied a lot, drank a lot, and eventually it led to using pot, and it soon escalated from there.
So was pot the first drug that you did?
Yes.
And then what did pot lead to?
Pot led to pills. I was using a lot of Lortabs, a lot of Oxycontin, and soon from that, when I was 15, is the first time I tried heroin.
Wow. And what happened after you got high for the first time on heroin?
I fell in love. Sad to say, I can truly say that was like my first love. I was addicted after that. I didn't want to stop, and it was only going to get worse from there. You start off smoking it, and eventually it doesn't get good enough, so then you start shooting it. That doesn't get good enough, so then you start eventually mixing coke and heroin, and after that, you're done.
So basically you needed more and more and more in order to get the same effect that you got that first time.
Right. And soon you don't even do it anymore to get high. You do it to maintain from getting sick, from withdrawing.
Wow.
From pot to washing down pills with alcohol, then to mixing heroin and cocaine, Corinna's life quickly spiraled out of control. When she finally looked at her surroundings and witnessed how empty her life had become, she realized that she had hit rock bottom.
My lowest point was the darkest point of my life. I looked around and I had nobody. I lost everybody. I was in a relationship for a year, and me and my boyfriend had an apartment together, and that was probably the happiest time that I had. And when I looked around, I realized he was gone, and my mother was on the verge of leaving. My father had left, and I just was hoping one day that I was gonna, the drugs were gonna kill me. I realized I needed help. I weighed 90 pounds. I was sick. I didn't eat. All I cared about, all my mind thought about was drugs. And I realized that I was doing things for the drugs that are not what I was brought up to. I have morals and I have respect, and I put all that aside and didn't care about how low I was making myself feel, and I was doing things that that just weren't right.
As you were getting deeper into your addiction, what was happening to your personal life?
I lost any friends that I had that were, I could call real good friends. I didn't want anyone around me. It's something that I kind of just did myself, and I lost all my family. I lost everybody, and drugs was the only thing that I had.
When did you realize that this was the bottom?
Looking around and realizing that I was gonna die, and it was gonna happen soon. And being just not caring anymore. I realized that I no longer had any goals for myself, that all those dreams I had were coming to an end. Like, I didn't care what happened. I didn't care if I died. I didn't care if I lived. Like, it just didn't matter to me anymore. And I was depressed and I was very lost.
What is it like to be that low, where you literally do not care whether you live or die?
It's just a dark place. It's not a good feeling. It's a very different kind of feeling.
Stuck in the darkest place imaginable, Corinna had two options: live or die.
It's a very dark place to be, and I don't want to die. That was the only options I had, were either to live or to die, because drugs were going to kill me. The mixture I was doing, they were going to kill me, and I don't want to die.
Do you ever think back to that moment where you were? That moment where you just didn't care about living anymore?
I do. It gives me motivation to keep going. Honestly, it really does.
By the age of 16, drugs had completely consumed Corinna's life. Bouncing around from parent to parent meant bouncing around from school to school. Feeling like an outcast, drowning in addiction, she dropped out.
I was drinking very heavily, so I would go to school drunk all the time, and I was skipping school. There's no way I had enough credits to even be able to finish, so I had to drop out.
When you dropped out of school, was it for a particular reason? Like, what was going on?
It was for multiple reasons. It was because growing up I had been moving back and forth between my parents, so that did cause me to fall behind. And it also was because I, at the time, did not care about school. I was dealing with an addiction. I was living with my father in Utah, where I didn't feel like I fit in. And just life wasn't where I wanted it to be. I was not happy, and I couldn't deal with school. I was ditching, and I was too messed up always to be in school anyways.
When I hear you tell your story, I'm extremely amazed, because from what I understand, this was not too long ago. Am I correct?
Right.
How long have you been sober?
For 2 months I've been sober.
And when you look at the progress that you've made, how do you feel about yourself?
I feel extremely happy. I really am. I started methadone, and that's what got me clean. And I've done rehab. I've done different programs, but at those times I didn't want to quit. This time I was ready to quit, and I was ready to get better and to have a better future.
And I think what you just said is the difference between going into a program when you don't want to quit and actually realizing that you are doing this for you.
Yes.
And nobody else but yourself.
Yes, that's what people need to definitely realize, is that you cannot quit unless you are 100% ready to quit. That you are ready to give all of it up and to move forward. If you're not, if you're only 80% there, 50%, whatever, you're not going to do it. You're not going to stay clean. There's no way. Being clean is totally different. I have to completely learn how to relive life. I've been doing this for so long, it feels like that I don't know how to live sober. But now that I am, I'm extremely happy. I'm extremely happy. I don't care if I can't hang out with any of the people that I used to hang out with, that I called friends. I don't mind if this journey is, journey just with myself. It's fine, because at this time I have to be selfish and I have to be alone in order to get myself healthy. And I'm happy because things are just getting better and better, and I know that I'll be okay.
Corinna, there are so many people right now who are addicted and are looking for a way out, but just feel like they don't know what that out is. You've gone through it. What is the out? How do you do it?
You have to hit rock bottom first. Unfortunately, you have to hit rock bottom to be able to get back up. People have to realize that this is not the life they want to live, and they figure out, being in that bottom, how to get themselves out. You have to do it solely on your own.
What about for people who realize that they're heading there? Like, that's where they're going. They're going to rock bottom. How do they turn around? How do they prevent themselves from losing it all before trying to gain it again?
Well, sometimes hitting that rock bottom is what motivates you to want to quit. I mean, sometimes that's really what it takes, and I know for a lot of addicts, it takes that. Because if you don't lose it all, then you have no motivation to quit. You can keep going, you think that you're fine, you're doing fine, doing drugs, that you're being a productive drug addict. There's no such thing. You're eventually going to hit that rock bottom.
And what's your journey like now?
My journey now is completely different. I'm happy being clean, and that's another thing too, is drugs bring you down, and being clean is such a great feeling, and it's a feeling I haven't felt in so long, and it's amazing. It really is. And now I look forward to a future. I have those dreams and those goals set again, and I will do nothing to stop until I reach them. I want to reach them, and I'm very determined.
And do you think you'll ever relapse again?
I hope not. Sometimes relapse happens, but I don't think so. I don't want to, because I know what it feels to be at the bottom, and I don't want to go back ever.
Corinna, there are tons of people who are watching right now who are thinking, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can turn my life around. What advice do you have for them in terms of how you got to where you are, how you got out, and the journey that they may have before them?
Well, they absolutely can get clean if they want to, and it's a horrible journey. It's hard, it's painful, but if you want it, you can do it. That determination that addicts have, it's unbelievable. All addicts have this determination, and they just need to turn it around and use it in a positive way. That determination they have to get drugs every day, they need to turn around and be that determined to get out of it.
That's great. And what about your friends now? Are you rebuilding a social life? Do you have positive people that are surrounding you?
Yes, I do. But I keep it very minimal right now because I am still so fresh being clean. I have to be very careful who I bring into my circle. So right now I'm still scared, and I'm still very nervous to bring people around me. So I do spend a lot of time right now by myself. But it's fine because I have a new job, so I'm working.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's really good.
And I'm going to this, methadone clinic, and I'm in a program. And so right now my head is so focused that it doesn't bother me being alone. If that's what it's going to take to heal, then it's fine.
And did you kick those old friends, the ones that you're doing drugs with, did you kick them to the curb?
I did.
How important is it Tell me honestly, how important is it to get rid of the negative influence in your
It's
life?
so important. You are not going to succeed unless you do it. One of the hardest things was the relationship I was in for a year. He was an addict too. And we, in September, had gotten arrested, and when he got out of jail, went to a program also in Florida and moved away. And the number one person I had to get rid of was him. As much as I loved him, me and him, we fed off each other, and we were just no good. And now he's doing good, and I am too. So it's so important to have sober people around you, to have family around you. You will not succeed if you hang out with the same people. They're going to end up using in front of you, and you're going to end up doing it, especially if you're new to being clean.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of family, how's your relationship with your family now?
Well, me and my mother are doing so much better, and I know she is so proud of me, and I cannot thank her enough, because I really do believe that if she hadn't stuck by me through this whole thing, that I couldn't have done it. As far as my father, we don't talk as much, but I know he's proud of me too. I know that they're all rooting for me, and they're all crossing their fingers that I beat this.
Oh, yeah. Do you feel like that support that you're getting from them is also what's helping you to completely kick it?
Yes, definitely. I don't want to hurt them anymore. I've put my mom through enough that has almost killed her, and I think that she deserves to have a daughter who makes her proud. And yeah, I feel really horrible for the things I've done to her, and she deserves so much better, and that's really what keeps me going, is that I want to make her proud. I want to be the daughter that she wants. Yeah.
I can tell you right now that you're doing that. You're doing that.
I hope so.
And I'm extremely proud of you too. I think that courage is all about doing what is best despite the fears that we have. And I think you are the prime example of that. And I cannot thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Corinna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Corinna's incredible willpower saved her from a head-on collision with a life of drugs and destruction. Her sobriety allowed her to finish school, obtain a professional license, and secure a job that genuinely makes her happy. Corinna bravely chose to come on this show and share her story to prevent the tragedy of addiction from happening to another person.
I would tell people who are going through it that they're not alone, and there are people out there who understand what they are going through, and to keep fighting. As long as it takes, you have to keep fighting, because like I said, you only have two options, to live or to die, and you have to make that decision yourself whether you want to live or you want to die.
Two options: live or die. Corinna teaches us the importance of taking control of our lives before it is too late. If you or anyone you know suffers from abuse or addiction, please seek help. My name is Ugo Lord, and thank you for watching.
On the next Ugo Lord Show.
To protect his family, he's held on to a secret for over a decade. But with a secret this big, keeping it has its price. With the world on his shoulders, will he come clean? Find out on the next episode of The Ugo Lord Show.